I know that Iran took only 12 hours and our bombs were amazing. And this seemed like it was quick and easy. So now people are in the mindset of, oh, all of this is going to be easy. Brothers and sisters, that's why I'm doing this video. I'm here to tell you, it ain't gonna be easy.
They don't have a plan for running the place, and the place is crawling with Maduro forces. The minute we go on the ground, we're screwed.
All right, guys, about a day, less than a day, 12 hours into the Venezuela war, I have a conclusion. It's not going to end well. I have an excellent reason for thinking that. And it is mainly because it appears that we have not thought this through. So I don't know if anybody's still surprised that the people in power are not some sort of demigods that don't know how to think anything through or plan things through. So there's a giant hole in Trump's plan. It's absurd, and I'm not sure that people are talking about it enough. And I wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was coming ahead here. And I think that what's coming next is not going to be pleasant for Trump, for America, for any of us. It's all a matter of percentages, but I'm going to explain to you all in one quick second. So, real quick, guys, you know, we do the show live Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 o'clock every day. So, 6 o'clock Eastern on Monday. Anna and I will break this down further, but this is a very important development I'm going to tell you about in a second. And I also want you guys to know our sponsors, Noble Mobile. They're saved a ton of money. If you're paying over $50, it makes no sense to do that. Nothing on your phone changes, your phone number, etc. Nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch, but they give you money back also if you don't spend your data. So like last month, I got over $16 back. So I only paid like $33 and they're giving me a $50 bonus now. So that's why I'm telling you, TYT.com/switch, save a lot of money. Okay, let's get on to Venezuela. So, guys, so we go in, we attack, as I told you this morning in the video that I did. We bombed Caracas. It turns out we killed about 40 civilians or 40 people overall. We'll see how many of them are civilians a little bit later, presumably. And we kidnapped Maduro, and it is definitely a kidnapping, and his wife for good measure. Did she actually do anything, or is she just the wife? We don't know yet. They say, oh, we're arresting him. But wait, you can't just arrest someone in a different country, even if you have an arrest warrant for him, if you don't have some sort of treaty or anything. Like, for example, if France, for whatever reason, didn't want to give us some criminal that we wanted, right? And we had legitimate charges on him in America, and please, France, we'd like them, and let's do some sort of extradition here, etc. If France said no for whatever reason, which, by the way, happens all the time with different countries, we have no right to go and bomb Paris, grab the guy, and take him out, let alone if he's the leader of that country, right? So what we did was highly illegal. And I know that these days we're high on our own supply, and you see Russia and Israel just violating every international law, and it doesn't matter at all. They just go in and take other people's land and kill them. And so we're devolving towards chaos and anarchy. But our own allies are pushing in that direction in terms of, at least Israel is. And we are too. And so we're like, okay, you know, Venezuela will kill the drug boats, little drug boats. Some are fishermen, some are drug boats, but who cares? Let's just kill them. Some are Venezuelan, some are not. Who cares? Let's kill them. And so then we started bombing within Venezuela, which is just nuts. That's just an act of war, period. Then we started just stealing their oil tankers. That's an act of war. And obviously bombing their capital and kidnapping their president and his wife under, you know, even if the charges were super legitimate, it doesn't matter. It's still wildly illegal. And if you say, oh, America shouldn't follow the laws, or there should be no law at all, there should be no international laws, no rule of law, no law and order, let's just have chaos and anarchy. Okay, you could have that position, but that's a crazy position. One of the things that's going to happen because of that is China's going to go, oh, we're just taking countries now? Okay, I'll just take Taiwan. And then the next country is going to go, hey, there's a smaller country next to me. I'll take that and I'll take that. This is insanity. We should be the ones trying to prevent that. And we should be the voice of reason. I know. Wishful thinking. But, you know, I'm the wishful thinking guy. I'm the optimist guy. I'm the guy who's patriotic in a super corny way. I love this country. I believe in it. I believe in the ideas of freedom and equality before the law and all those things. And I believe in us being the shining city on a hill. And this ain't it. This is not how you get there. This is the opposite of how you get there. And more importantly, as I'm about to tell you and why I'm doing the video, is it's also how you get yourself in a lot of trouble. Real quick, David Milley, thank you for writing in on Super Chat. And he says, I don't care about Maduro and I don't care that he's a thug. Like, he's a bad guy. Okay, yeah, so what? I don't want to be bogged down in another quagmire. Endless war is one of the conditions of a state in decline. 100%. So they're trotting out the same things. Oh, Maduro's a bad guy. Are you on the bad guy side? Hey, I'm too old for this crap, man. I lived through this in the Iraq War. So they pulled this on us 1,000 times and much more oppressively back then. Oh, you're saying we shouldn't go to war in Iraq. You sound like you're a traitor who doesn't support the troops. You sound like you're pro Saddam Hussein. I've lived through all of those propaganda tricks a million times over. I don't care how bad a guy Maduro is. Can we govern Venezuela? Should we illegally invade other countries? Is that going to have consequences for us and others? Of course it's going to have consequences. And no, of course we shouldn't do any of those things. So all the people who are excited thinking like, oh, this is a precision strike. G.I. Joe went in and we played with these dolls and our dolls won. No, guys, that's not the issue. Our guys militarily are awesome. And can they do a precision strike better than almost anyone else? Yeah, absolutely. Not almost. I don't, maybe Israel can do it as well, but I don't know. Maybe the Russians, I doubt it. No, we're the best in the world at that. That was never in question. That's the thing, that the shiny object they throw in your direction in the beginning. They go, look at how successful the beginning of the war is. We were able to do a military strike that overwhelmed the Venezuelans. Ooh, were we? Can we overwhelm Paraguay next? Well, of course we can. How about Bhutan? Can we overwhelm them with a precision military strike? Of course we can. That's not the point. The point is, what are you going to do next? And that's the heart of the problem now, guys. So I'm going to tell you about one group, but it's way beyond that, okay? So what I was looking for is, okay, so they take Maduro, then are we on the ground right now or are we not on the ground? Because if we're on the ground, that presents a certain number of problems. But if we're not on the ground, that also presents a certain number of problems. So the main problem, if we're not on the ground, is that, well, then we're hoping that the remaining Venezuelan leadership listens to us. That's not that good a hope. And so that's why Trump said in the press conference, if she doesn't do as we tell her, the vice president who took over, well, then there's going to be a second worse attack. Okay, so now we're neck deep in a war. Now there's going to be a second potential attack. It's either bluffing, what I don't think so, or we already had ground troops to extract them. We're going to have more ground troops. That's literally what he's threatening. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. He's not threatening to throw balloons at him. There's not going to be like balloon party animals that we throw at Caracas. No, more bombing, more people killed, more troops on the ground. He said bigger than this. So if we do that, and now we're in a quagmire, let's say we take the vice president. Well, the defense minister also says, no, Maduro is the legitimate leader. So I was looking for a couple of things. One, are we on the ground? We're not. So then two, how are we going to get them to comply? Because I'm curious about how this one ends. That's the most important thing. Okay, so now not on the ground, we're going to get them to comply through this bluff or potential quagmire where we're on the ground and then we're trying to impose a leader. Next thing I was looking for is, how did the remaining leadership of Venezuela take it? Not well. So Trump said, oh, Marco already talked to her, to the vice president, and she said she's playing along, she's being good, right? No, she was on Venezuelan television going, no, it is an illegal invasion of Venezuela. They've kidnapped our leader. Our leader continues to be Nicolas Maduro. We're all in support of him. Now, could that be that she's bluffing? Could it be that she's putting on a brave face? Of course, right? Those are among the possibilities. But if we had this thing figured out well enough earlier that we knew which way the dominoes were going to fall, then we would have already had her in our back pocket. And it looks like we do not have her in our back pocket. At least that's how it looks right now. Nor do we have the defense minister, nor do we have anyone in their government or their generals. Okay, so far we kidnapped Maduro, but we don't have, as far as we know, and maybe the CIA's already got it figured out, and maybe they've got guys to topple, and maybe we're going to see. And guys, everything is percentages, right? So there is some percentage chance that even though it doesn't look like it from the outside, the CIA internally has this thing figured out. She's either already in our pockets or she's not, but the next guy is, and etc. That is some percentage chance. I have that at pretty low. I have what is really high percentage chances. No, we didn't think it through. No, we don't have a good plan for getting them to comply. We assumed that if we bullied them hard enough, and this is a classic Trump assumption, that they would just surrender and go, "Yes, sir, absolutely, sir. We'll be awaiting your orders, sir." And like I said, maybe some small percentage chance that they are, but I think that much more likely they are not. And so, okay, now we're going to get to something that's even potentially even more important on the ground in a second. First, you snooze, you news says, do you think it's far right and far left collab more on YouTube? It would move people out of a few APAC puppets. Both sides are sick of wars and realizing division is intentional. Brother, I'm trying my best. You know, Young Turks is trying to bring people together 6 to 8 p.m. And at 8 p.m. Eastern every day, I'm doing a show called The Revolution, where I'm like, hey, left, right, let's get together, because if we don't get together, this establishment is going to steamroll us. No matter who you vote for Joe Biden, you vote for Donald Trump, it doesn't matter. You get more wars, more neocons, more endless aid to Israel, more subsidies for oil companies, more Pentagon bloat. We never get what we want because the donors are in charge. And the donors wanted this war. This war doesn't help Americans at all, not 1%. Sorry, Luck Dragon 2000. I'm so glad I retired from the military 4 years ago. Otherwise, basically, he says something along the lines of be working for ExxonMobil. And that's a really important point. Sorry, guys, that I can't read all the super chats and the members who sign up, but I'll do my best as I can. But I want to address that and then get back to telling you potentially the most important group on the ground. But I appreciate you all, including Baby Rollies and Sayu and everybody else doing super chats. And membership matters, guys. It matters a lot. Otherwise, we can't do this honest, independent analysis like we're doing here. Not trying to pick any sides, just calling it as we see it. Now, to the point that the brother had earlier about if I stayed in the military, I'd receive the Exxon Medal of Regime Change. Every military leader who signed off on this should be held equally accountable as Trump. Now, that's a harder situation, brother, as you know. And so Lanky Andy 95, I want to answer your question too. So it's a harder question because the president is ordering you to do something, and then now you're in a conflict, right? So I don't even need to get to the military yet. Let's deal with the civilian regime. But your main point, though, is, guys, this Venezuela thing has nothing to do with benefits for America. Trump literally said oil companies. JD Vance in a post on X said, "Oh, our oil companies will make more money now." They're brazenly saying this is for our donors. They gave us a lot of legalized bribes. We stuffed it in our pockets and it helped us win the election. And now we're paying them back with your money and we're making you go to war for them. And by the way, one of these guys could get shot down and they could die, and then they'll die for ExxonMobil, because ExxonMobil bribes all of our politicians. And it's true in every industry, and they bribe both parties. And that's why no matter what happens, defense contractors and all of these lobbies conspire to make sure that your vote is irrelevant. You vote for polar opposites and you get the same thing no matter what. And today's a perfect example of it. So, stay in the military and work for ExxonMobil? When was the last time we used the military or the CIA to defend America, as opposed to go get oil profits, go help Israel with their wars? Anything but us. Everything for the donors. We're all so sick of it. Boxy Brown 6900, thank you for sending the Young Turks gift membership. We appreciate you. Lanky Andy, I did want to address your question. He says, do you think the link, the vast majority of Venezuelans are happy with this? So that's the situation. That I'm glad you asked that, and it's a perfectly legitimate and good question, and you should be thinking of good questions like that. So, guys, you're seeing some celebrations, etc., but there's a lot of propaganda. But even despite the propaganda, my best guess is that most of the Venezuelan people were very angry at Maduro. The inflation and the economy is terrible there. And are there people legitimately super excited that Maduro is gone? My guess is yes. There definitely is. And if we were doing it to liberate the Venezuelan people, and then they go to a democracy, and it's not to steal the oil, it's not for this or that, but it's to help them, it still wouldn't work for the reasons I'm about to explain, and I'd be against it. But yeah, if we rode in on unicorns over rainbows and we were the good guys and we did it out of the goodness of our hearts and we did it to help liberate the Venezuelan people, I guess that's a slightly different story, but that is obviously not at all what's happening here. And so, as much as my heart goes out to them, I don't think Maduro won that last election. I think the other guy did. I get it, guys. I get it. Saddam was a bad guy. I think Maduro's a bad guy. I wish that somebody else would have run Iraq, and I wish somebody else would run Venezuela. But is it our business? And will our military help in the long term get to a better result, or will it lead to a worse result? So it doesn't matter, even if our intentions were the purest thing in the world, and even if 70% of Venezuelans want Maduro gone, which is probably around the right number, can we get the job done? Even if we had the best of intentions, which we have announced we do not. Okay. So, and even so would be illegal. But okay. So finally we get to, okay, so now I've looked at Venezuelan government is also not on board for this. We're not on the ground. So then what happens if we get on the ground? Because if the Venezuelan government is being truthful right now, that they're sticking with Maduro and they're saying he's their real leader and they're not giving in to American demands, Trump threatened a second attack, so he's got to deliver on a second attack. So buckle up, brace for impact, because right now, as things stand, we're going for that second collision. And Trump said the second one will be much larger. But is he just going to go get the vice president? What if he can't get the vice president? Okay, if you get the vice president, but the defense minister agrees, and the minute you leave, the defense minister takes charge, are we going to do a third attack? And now, finally, when you're on the ground, what's going to happen? And so I went around to all the different news sites trying to get clues as to what would happen on the ground. And in this case, credit to CNN for a good report that I think is very important, and I'm not sure that others realize its import. Okay, so let me read to you from CNN's reporting in Caracas. Quote, the group was spotted Saturday during a tour of a central area of Caracas near government buildings. The civilians armed with assault rifles belong to the Colectivos Chavistas. I'm positive that it's saying that totally wrong and comically, but bear with me. So who are these people? Quote, a pro-government paramilitary groups that exercise territorial control in certain parts of the Venezuelan capital. And to which I say, we're done with this. This does not end well. Okay. The Turks have a saying, first of all, Mr. Sam 333, you're awesome for joining. And at the premium level, guys, that makes a big difference. You could also upgrade through that. Help support us doing news in the middle of the night for you guys. Once we figure something out, we're dying to get you to the news and get you the right facts so you're armed with that knowledge. So if we're on the ground, what I'm looking for is, are there potential guerrilla groups that will form an insurgency? That's it right there. The guys I just told you about. So the Colectivos Chavistas are already on the ground, and I read more into them, and they're already kind of a paramilitary group that Maduro has been using to shore up his power within Caracas and Venezuela. So not only does he have his military, which for now appears to be loyal to him, but he also has this paramilitary group, and they have different territories within Caracas. That is a perfect group for an insurgency. So if we get on the ground the second time, the third time, and we have to stay on the ground because Trump is saying we're running Venezuela now. We are now governing Venezuela. We are not on the ground. We are not actually governing Venezuela. But he's insisting that they must listen to our orders. Recipe for disaster. So once we're on the ground, the guerrilla warfare guys could come in, the military guys could come in. And what if we start taking casualties? What, we're going to be perfect every time in even more difficult circumstances, and now we've announced ahead of time that we would be coming a second time? Our guys are amazing militarily, armed forces, right? But you're asking them to take too many chances. So what happens if we lose 2, 3 guys, 12 guys, 11 guys? What happens? And then we're going to get dug in more because we got to go avenge them, and we got to get more control and dug in more. So either they're not going to, like, unless that 12% chance I described earlier, where no, Cenk, these guys are playing four-dimensional chess and they're secret geniuses in the Trump administration. Okay, maybe. And they've already got the dominoes figured out, Cenk, and the CIA is going to topple this person next and put in the puppet after that. And then they are going to follow our orders, even though we're screaming them from the aircraft carrier. Okay, but I think an 88% chance, a much, much higher chance that we don't know what we're doing. And at some point, they're going to call our bluff. And if they call our bluff, either we're going to have to go, oh, sorry, whatever, didn't mean it, but we're going to keep Maduro and go home. And that's super embarrassing. And hence, Trump's not going to want to do that. Or we're going to get we're going to get stuck in a quagmire. There's not much of a chance that we're not. So, okay, let's see what happens. I know that Iran took only 12 hours and our bombs were amazing. And this seemed like it was quick and easy. So now people are in the mindset of, oh, all of this is going to be easy. Brothers and sisters, that's why I'm doing this video. I'm here to tell you it ain't going to be easy. And I've lived through this before. I remember before the Iraq war, we were on the air. And they said, oh, you Young Turks guys are crazy. Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! Is crazy. You're all radicals. Iraq is going to be so easy. We're going to be greeted as liberators. Our military is so much better than their military. Are you casting aspersions on our military to support the troops? Well, we're going to have roses thrown at our feet. The jackass neocons literally said that. And so today they extracted Maduro in a way that was amazing. So a lot of people are falsely falling into the trap of thinking, oh, we can just do this forever. All of our missions are going to be perfect. They're only going to take a couple of hours, and we're not going to get stuck in any quagmire, and it's all going to be roses. It ain't. At some point, somebody makes a mistake because they get too difficult a task by their civilian leaders, and things spiral out of control. And the mistake is we don't have anybody on the ground. The minute they stop listening to us, we're going to have to get in on the ground in Venezuela, and that's going to be a disaster. Okay, so I'm telling to you on the first day, my analysis is, and right now everybody's high on this, oh my God, it was an amazing military operation. No, the military operation is not the important part or the hard part for us because we're so good at it. The hard part is getting to a conclusion, and it appears that we do not have a good strategy at all for getting to that conclusion. And so if you don't get to the conclusion, you slowly get trapped in that quagmire and you get sucked into that conflict and war. And then now we're fighting a war in some other country for no goddamn reason when we should be taking care of our own people. All right. Love you guys. Monday, 6 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to see you all. And we'll do our best in fighting back against this and any other horrible ideas foisted upon us by leaders that are nonstop liars. Oh, I'm anti-war. I'm the peace president. And now we're in Caracas. Insanity.
Nicolas Maduro, handcuffed, appearing to limp, and surrounded by drug enforcement agents, taken down in the eyes of the Trump administration from president to perpetrator. Still, there was a New Year nod to the waiting camera.
Good night. Happy New Year.
Crowds waited outside the notorious New York jail, where he now faces charges of running a violent cocaine trafficking empire, a claim he's always rejected as a front for regime change.
The Trump administration carried out airstrikes on Venezuela before capturing its now former president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. As you heard in that video, Maduro was brought back to the United States to face trumped-up drug trafficking charges, even though Venezuela is not a major player in the international drug trade. But the most important question now is, what happens next And why is it likely to be a gigantic disaster? It turns out one of the worst members of the Trump administration may be put in charge of running the entire country of Venezuela. Before I tell you who, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm going to explain to you folks after Jordan gives you all the facts why this can't possibly work out. There's only one scenario under which this is not an epic disaster. I'll tell you that scenario as well. But we have a ton of evidence for you guys on why this is going to be epic in how terrible it turns out. So I want you guys to make sure that you know the downsides of this, as some on the right are celebrating like we just accomplished a mission. It reminds me of that mission accomplished moment that Bush had on his aircraft carrier. So we'll get into all that. Jordan, first give us the facts.
Now, Maduro is currently jailed in New York and earlier today pleaded not guilty to federal drug trafficking charges. But aside from his kidnapping, little has changed in the political makeup of the government of Venezuela. Its current acting leader, Maduro's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, was sworn in shortly after Maduro was seized by the US. And you might be wondering, what about that Maria Machado woman who the US was supposed to install as a puppet leader? Well, Trump threw her under the bus.
Mr. President, is the U.S. aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. Really, no, we haven't. Well, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within, or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect.
Mr. President.
Now, Trump is right about one thing. Maria Machado is hated by people in Venezuela. An October 2025 poll from the pollster Hinterlaces showed that 91% of those consulted have an unfavorable opinion about the opposition leader, Maria Machado. The poll also placed Machado as the most unpopular, with a rejection rate significantly higher than the rest of the country's political leaders. But that's not actually why Trump shafted her. According to 2 sources who spoke to the Washington Post, the real reason is that he's bitter, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. Although Machado ultimately said she was dedicating the award to Trump, her acceptance of the prize was an ultimate sin, said one of the people. If she had turned it down and said, I can't accept this because it's Donald Trump's, she'd be the president of Venezuela today, this person said. Now, despite Maduro's vice president getting sworn in, Trump announced that the United States will now run the country, even though our government can't run itself.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about.
Yeah, if there's one thing that Donald Trump is known for, it's a judicious and safe transfer of power. It's unclear ultimately what he means there. It seems that the Trump administration didn't plan for what would happen after Maduro was ousted. But according to the Washington Post, the White House is weighing giving Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy White House chief of staff and Homeland Security advisor, a more elevated role in overseeing post-Maduro operations in Venezuela, according to one person with knowledge of the conversations. Of course, Miller is best known as an anti-immigrant zealot who's led the mass deportation charge, but he's also took a central role in the effort to remove Maduro, according to the Post. How he or any US official will actually run the country of 30 million people hasn't been laid out yet. Rodriguez, the newly sworn in president, is remaining defiant. She called for Maduro's release and made it clear she opposes US intervention.
Something that the Venezuelan people and this country have very clear is that we will never again be slaves, is that we will never again be a colony of any empire of whatever kind.
Now, in response to Rodriguez, Trump reasserted that the United States is in charge of Venezuela and plans to coerce current leadership in Caracas, telling reporters aboard Air Force One that we're dealing with the people that just got sworn in. And don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial. What does that mean? A reporter asked. It means we're in charge, the president said. When asked what he needed from Rodriguez, Trump said, "We need total access. We need access to the oil and to other things in the country that allow us to rebuild their country." We're not the only ones who are skeptical about Trump's plan for managing a post-Maduro Venezuela. Elliot Abrams, Trump's own former special envoy to Venezuela, called Trump out on CNN for his implausible plan to run an entire country.
How is the United States actually going to run Venezuela?
I doubt there's much planning been done for this, but partly because it was necessary to retain operational security. I don't think many people in the government knew this was going to happen. The United States cannot run Venezuela. It would be extremely difficult. It's a very big country. It's twice the size of California, 25 million people roughly. It's too complex for us to run.
We haven't even scratched the surface of the oil side of things. We'll get to that in a moment, but Cenk, I want to bring you in here.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what the plan was supposed to be. I'll tell you what it wound up being, and I'll tell you what it's going to be as we go forward. So the plan was to always replace the Maduro regime with Machado and her allies. Who came up with that plan? The neocons did. In this case, the neocons are a little bit broader than Israel First. There's the same coalition that brought us the Iraq War. Oil companies, Wall Street speculators, defense contractors. Yes, Israel First is in there. We're gonna have a different segment about that later in the program, where Netanyahu, Huckabee, and Rubio are all saying, yeah, we did this for Israel. Okay, but that's not the only reason we did it at all. It's a confluence of all of those factors coming together. And so they were supposed to put Machado in place. Otherwise, the plan is unworkable. Even Elliot Abrams, the guy you just saw, who's one of the top neocons in the country, is saying, wait, we're gonna run the country from outside of Venezuela? No, that wasn't the plan. The plan is put in a puppet regime and let them run it. So where's the puppet regime? Well, so that's flaw number one in their plan. The guy who has to execute it is Donald J. Trump. And he threw the biggest curveball there is there. And he's like, Machado, I don't like her. And she should have given me the Peace Prize. That's not even a thing. Nobody's ever been like, oh, thank you for the Nobel Peace Prize, but I give it to Bob instead, right? But apparently, since she didn't do that ludicrous, unprecedented thing that was only in Trump's head, he talked her down and he's like, no, we're not going in that direction. But wait a minute, her ally is the guy who we are saying won the last election, and probably did, by the way. So how about him? No, there's no talk of him. So then what are we gonna do instead, now that this giant curveball's in there? And by the way, putting Machado in place would not have been easy at all. That's gonna get to the future as well, because the neocons are gonna go back in that direction. In fact, they're already going back in that direction. But without her, we're screaming orders at the vice president that remains there and going, okay, now we are running your country. Now let them ExxonMobil come in and take all your oil fields and kick out Iran. Israel doesn't like them. What do we do? Are you crazy? That nobody's gonna listen to that. And guys, since the moment we invaded to today, I've been religiously checking to see what's happening on the ground. So if you've seen some celebrations, that's corporate media. It's not wrong. It's all about framing, guys. Are those people really celebrating? Yes. Are they real Venezuelans? Yes. Is 2/3 of the country at this point kind of against Maduro? 2/3 of Venezuela? I would say roughly yes, okay? So those are real people getting excited, and our TV crews, corporate media comes and goes, you see that? Everybody loves that we kidnapped their leader and attacked their capital, and they can't wait for us to rule from an aircraft carrier off the coast, right? No. There's the Venezuelan people, and then there are the people who are in charge of Venezuela today. And the people in charge of Venezuela today, including the vice president, which Jordan showed you, going, no, we're not gonna be your slaves. No, we're not gonna do what you want. By the way, corporate media is amazing. If you turn on television, they're like, oh, the vice president has obviously submitted to us and will be serving us loyally from here on out. I'm like, she didn't say that. She didn't say that at all. She said, oh, we're for global peace. They're like, that's it, that's surrender, we win. No, in all the other videos, she's like, Maduro is still our leader. We're definitely singing with him. And even more importantly, the defense minister and the military are sticking with Maduro. And I looked this up, I talked about it in a video I did over the weekend, you should check that out too. There are local gangs and militias that are under Maduro's control, and they're now roaming the streets and patrolling the streets, and they're not going anywhere. So what happens when Trump's bluff gets called, which is the future? So the minute we shout out an order, okay, you are to do this or what, X, Y, or Z, and they don't do it, Trump has said we're gonna do a second wave, and the vice president is going to have a fate worse than Maduro, presumably death, right? He's gonna murder her, etc. But right now they seem unmoved by that. So then we're gonna have to do a second military attack, but this time the Venezuelans will know for sure we're coming and be very well prepared for whatever good that does them. But much more importantly, then we have to have guys on the ground directing people. They're gonna run into the militias, they're gonna run into the military, they're gonna run into Maduro forces, and there we go, quagmire, bogged down in an insurgency. So either we're going to be totally ineffectual, they're not gonna listen to us, it's gonna be humiliating, and we're gonna have to tuck tail and turn around, or much, much worse, we're gonna get there on the ground and it's gonna turn into a massive insurgency. So the future looks terrible in this regard. There are almost no wins. Jordan, the only scenario where I see that there's a 10% hope is the CIA is way better than I realized, and they got this thing figured out. Even though Trump and Rubio are all giving different answers, one is saying law enforcement, the other one is saying we're running the country, somebody else is saying attack and invasion, the other one's saying no, not invasion. Like they look to be an utter mess. But if the CIA somehow already has the vice president and the defense minister and the militias in their back pocket, and this is all a show for internal Venezuelan population, but secretly they're working for the CIA, okay, like that's not a great scenario, but at least then that's our only prayer of avoiding some sort of quagmire here. But that is very unlikely. The CIA hasn't been competent in decades. So what's much more likely is what's happening, exactly what happened to Bush after his mission accomplished sign. They don't have a plan for running the place, and the place is crawling with Maduro forces. The minute we go on the ground, we're screwed. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.